Check. 1, 2, 3.
The D.
Brief.
This is the D Brief.
Go. Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's arts
and entertainment scene.
This is the D
Brief.
Hello and welcome to the Debrief, your podcast for Detroit concerts, comedy, plays, food, drink, and more. It's Tuesday, June 25th, 2019, and I'm your co-host. My name is Seth Ressler.
And I'm Becky Scarcello.
And this is what we say at the top of every show. I am new to the area. I don't really know this place that well.
And I've been here forever. I'm the native.
Yeah, so I'm learning. I'm getting better.
You are.
Here's what we've got in today's show. There is a new skateboarding park that just opened that Tony Hawk is involved with.
My son's Ben. A Detroit group made a huge splash on America's Got Talent this past week.
This is my guilty pleasure. I love America's Got Talent. I don't watch a lot of reality television, but every summer I look forward to that show. And so You Think You Can Dance, and it's nice to see Detroit represented there.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about a mural artist who was arrested for doing his job.
Crazy. Tim McKay's coming up on our Friday interview. He's the executive director of the Corktown Experience, just an amazing Corktown historian that knows everything about that neighborhood.
Yeah, that's a neighborhood I feel like I need to know more about. You know, having been here for a little while, it's a place I go to, but I know that there's a ton of history there.
Very rich history. One of the Detroit's very oldest neighborhoods.
Yeah. Want to let you know, we talk about a lot of things on this podcast. If you would like links to the things that we talk about, all you have to do is go to our website. It is thedebriefdetroit.com. While you're there, sign up for the email list, and every week we will email you links to all the stuff you talk about so you don't have to sit there with your number 2 pencil taking notes.
Mm-hmm. You might want to also check out our other website, MichiganPodcastProductions.com. We create branded podcasts for Detroit's arts and entertainment organizations, and we would love to help you if you're thinking about starting a podcast of your own.
Yeah, and you should start a podcast because everybody's doing it.
It's hot.
All right, let's meet today's guest host.
Welcome to the D
Brief.
All right, we have... You love that burp.
I hate it. And by love, you mean hate?
Yes, that's absolutely what
Is it
I mean.
opposite day?
Yes.
Okay.
I love that little burp.
I know you do. Therein lies the difference between you and I.
It's not a live burp. There was an actor that came in and did that burp, and we've been using it ever since. Anyway, today's show, we have, representing the world of Detroit theater, a director and an actress. She's directing a new work that's a part of a festival that's happening over at the Detroit Rep Theater on July 12th. She is also an educator and the coordinator of youth programs over at the Charles Wright Museum. I want to welcome Yolanda Jack. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, yes, thanks for inviting me. This is awesome.
Well, you're very involved in the arts community.
I was going to say, how do you even have time to come on the podcast? Thank you.
I'm so proud to be connected to the arts community. I have long said in this city, you can't throw a rock or a stone without hitting a creative person. And it seems like that's really true every time I meet somebody, is somebody connected to something in the arts. And I'm happy to be connected to that community as well, theater especially.
Nice. Can we also just point out the T-shirt that she's wearing there?
Yes.
So this says respect.
Yes.
And then Aretha.
Absolutely. The Queen, are you kidding?
Yes.
What? I work at the Charles Wright Museum of African American History. You can get this shirt at the Charles Wright Museum of African American History. And I was in a video with Miss Aretha Franklin when I was a 15-year-old girl.
You were?
Back in the day, Jimmy Lee. I think I was 15, about to turn 16. Jimmy Lee.
Wow.
They recorded it not far from where we are here, actually. It was a studio not far from where we are right now, literally.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is this part of your acting career? Is this on your IMDb?
Oh, God, no.
It
probably should be, right?
It should be.
Right.
But no, I didn't even, I think that's the first thing that was on my resume actually,
Wow.
because it was one of the first things that I did as a professional. They paid us. I was so excited to just be in the video and meet her. We got to meet her. And she was absolutely amazing. And it was the Queen walking in, and so I got many stories about Miss Aretha Franklin. I love that woman. So yeah, I had to represent, and the respect is all you want, right?
Nice.
It's keeping it simple and to the point.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about what's happening at the Detroit Rep Theater on July 12th.
So it is the third annual Lab of New Works. There are several playwrights, and let me make sure I got the right name of it, but that is exactly what I have been working on with Angela King, who wrote a a short piece called All That, and she asked me to direct it. Something that she had another director, and something happened schedule wise, and so I just kind of stepped in. So I'm new to this activity, new to the production, the event of the Detroit Playwrights Lab 3rd Annual Showcase. That is what the event is called, and it is free on the 12th. The doors open at 6:30. Come in and see the show. First come, first serve. And if you've ever been to the Detroit Rep, you know they have an intimate audience, an intimate house. So it's not a lot of seats available. But if you want to come and support new work in the city of Detroit from your peers, neighbors, and friends, family, come and see a variety of shows.
Plus, they have that great bar there.
Oh, yeah. It was a
Good
bar
point.
back in the day, right? Yeah. So you can get a nice Jameson or something to drink, or a beer.
So explain the concept behind this lab event.
So it was a circle of playwrights, men and women, who wanted to get their work out of their minds, out of their books, out of the scraps of paper, perhaps, that I know notes that I have are on. And they wanted to hear the plays be read. And then, obviously, every playwright wants their play to be produced. Mm-hmm. So this was an opportunity to help nurture these newborn babies, which are the plays, to see themselves forward into this world of theater and production. And what is it like to hear these scenes alive as opposed to in your mind or just on the page? We read Shakespeare, but it's always exciting to see someone perform it,
Right.
Othello or whatever. So yeah, it's an opportunity to really get that life into the words, and it's a free partnership. It is an opportunity, it's a labor of love, I think, quite honestly, for the members of the team at the Detroit Rep Theater and the members of the community who have come, because they've been partnering over these past few years to just really nurture and encourage and support the community of playwrights, which supports the community of theater. Obviously, as a theater company, you want to see great shows come through, and why wouldn't you have an opportunity, if you have an opportunity to come and see your neighbor's show on stage? Wouldn't that make you feel real proud?
Yeah.
So here's a way to really help make that happen.
So it seems like that would probably lead to a lot of networking, right? Because you've got
Absolutely.
the right people in the right place.
And this is a cool thing, because you get performers who are many times either from colleges nearby the city of Detroit or in the city of Detroit, colleges, universities, folks who are just transplanted from other cities who want to kind of know what's going on in the theater world here. And so you have this real cool directors, performers, playwrights, all in the same places, and these are many times new people to this field. People know me as an actress, but they don't always know that I can direct a scene or two here and there. So this is an opportunity for me to show and stretch my wings in this way as well. So I'm really excited for that.
When we have had other people on the podcast in the past who have talked about theater, one of the things we've talked about is the challenge of getting young people involved in theater. You work with a lot of young people.
I do, and I don't understand that. I think that young people perhaps are the most dramatic. I mean, I understand.
We know some of the same young people, I
Right,
think.
Yes, I have a few.
But I think that perhaps one of the things that may present as a challenge is when people want to go see shows that are stodgy, or when you think Shakespeare is not always exciting. To me, Shakespeare is some of the most exciting writing, but you know the stories behind it. When you begin to go to the vows and the forsooths and things, who cares about that? That little girl loved that little boy, and they were willing to do whatever they had to do. You know what I mean? It's the crux of it. So if we begin to get to the nut of the story with young people, I think they'll begin to appreciate why theater is so important, because it gives you an opportunity to see yourself on stage, perhaps in a way that you may have never dreamed of yourself on stage, or in the story, or in this particular world. Or you get a chance to, like when you go to a movie, escape into a whole world for a couple of hours, or less than an hour in some cases, and divulge yourself over into this whole great thing, and then come back new and refreshed. So I would challenge that. People think that young people aren't interested in theater. I think that the interest is what's being said, what's being told. If I'm being preached at or talked to, as we often do to young people, no one wants that. I'm grown and don't want that. So certainly I don't want to go pay my money for somebody to preach at me, unless, no this to the church, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not going to pay my money to go be told, you know, oh, you're living your life all wrong. I can go home to listen to my husband and my children tell me that
Same.
for free. So, I mean, I really am excited about the theater community and the excitement in the theater community that there are young people working with elders, working with newbies, coming up with whole new, the fact that we are thinking about doing 10-minute plays, something that I never heard of when I was a youth. Yeah, you can tell a whole story in 10 minutes. Absolutely.
Sure.
You can tell a whole story in 10 days, 10 minutes, you know, whatever. What's the conversation that you're trying to bring? What are the points that you want to touch upon? And so these are the things that I think are those entrances for young people to the theater, to the music, to the whatever artistic thing that they want to do, even if it's visual art. You know, what story are you telling? And that's always the point. That's always the point.
Oh, cool. Well, look, we're glad you're here. Hang out with us.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
We're
So
gonna
let's
have a good
jump in.
time.
Yay.
The debrief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.
All right, so we start with music news. That's the way we do it around here. Becky, what's going on?
I have got to lead with this because it just blew my mind. The Detroit Youth Choir
Yes.
on America's Got Talent.
You see
okay,
this?
you've seen
Man, brought tears to my eyes.
it. You've seen it, Seth? Of course.
So I love America's Got Talent. This
Absolutely.
is, you know, and I'm like you. Like, I can always tell when I haven't gotten enough sleep because if I start watching a reality TV show and I start crying, I'm like,
Okay.
I need my 8 hours because clearly I'm a little emotional.
But these
Well,
babies brought it, man.
Yeah, they did. I cried. And, you know, if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't seen it, please go. We'll put it on our show notes, but you got to go watch their performance.
And it was amazing because you watch them come out. And first of all, there's like a million of them.
It's like 50 kids
And they just run on.
Right. And they come out and then
on fire.
they start singing. And then, I mean, I don't want to give it away, but it
Yeah.
is not necessarily what you would think of when
No.
you think of a choir.
A choir.
performance.
No,
So,
no,
exactly.
no, absolutely.
And I think that came out with the judges too, like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right.
We see
It's-
this choir,
you're
and then you
surprised.
do this, like you put your own spin on it. They do Ceiling Can't Hold Us by Macklemore,
Yeah.
that old Macklemore song, and
Yeah.
just completely nail it. The guy that runs this choir has been doing it for 21 years,
This is
Anthony
amazing.
White. Like,
This is
he is
amazing. So proud of him.
dedicated.
Yes.
Yeah. And their kids, 8 to 18 years old, they got their little, like, looks like prep school uniforms on, doing this show. And what was really cool is Terry Crews. He just ran through it. He got so emotional. He's like,
He's hosting. He's the new host.
he's the
this season.
host,
Right.
not one of the judges, but he gets so emotional and he starts saying, you know, I'm from Flint, Michigan. This was me. They are me. Like,
Yes.
this is my story. You know,
Yes.
it's mostly inner city kids, all African American. And so he runs up and pushes the golden buzzer.
Sends them straight through.
Yeah.
Come on.
So they get to go immediately to the live show. They're up, you know, to compete for $1 million. I think we'll get to see him next again in mid to late August, I think is when it will air. So
It'll be a treat.
you got to follow their journey.
Funnily enough,
It's amazing.
It's a big deal because I know when I emailed over and said, "Hey, can we set up an interview?" They went, "No, everything's got to go through AGT." So
oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
it's tightened up over there.
My
now.
son auditioned for AGT some years ago.
So what does he do?
Yeah.
He is a writer and a lyricist, and stood there in line for hours and hours. Hung out with a bunch of great people, some of which I think he kept in contact with, and had a chance to rap in front of them. They didn't choose him that year, unfortunately, but he's gone on to do some great things, and he's got some music on his own out on YouTube and the different platforms that music is on.
What's how can we find him?
He is Xavier Jack. It's as simple as that. And
Okay.
his music, his song, the EP, I guess, is called King Rose, but it's spelled KXNGRXSE. Because my son is random and creative as well, but yeah, it's some good music. I think. I mean, even of course, I'm gonna say that I like his music, but, and I like rap, but he's
me too.
good. He's good, and I like that. It didn't get him down, like a lot of people would, hear that first no and be like, "That's it."
There's
It
certain
is
art
weird.
forms that I think it would be very hard to perform in that kind of setting. We had a local
Yeah.
comedian, Paolo, when he was on.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't imagine that's easy.
Right, and he talked about it, and stand-up comedy, and I would think hip-hop too. Those forms of art where you feed off the crowd and the energy, and then to not have that
that.
and do that.
Because they're just stoic and just,
Right. I mean, if I'm doing a violin solo, I could probably do that, and a
little bit easier.
Yeah, but some of those forms of
don't
performing.
lend itself to the real quick reaction like that.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have to see Terry Crews has a soft spot in my heart because I did get the opportunity to meet him in Detroit a couple of years ago. So he is he's been on this Travel Channel show. It's called Celebrity Adventure Club, and they go to different celebrities and say, "We'll go wherever in the world you want to go and film you doing it." He picked Detroit.
Of course he did.
Instead of picking Alaska or some, Thailand or wherever, he picked Detroit because he grew up in Flint and he was so excited about what's going on in Detroit. So they went to several places in the city, including a place I was volunteering for called City Year or Summer in the City. And we were doing a mural. You can see it off of 75 in Rosa Parks. It's a big phoenix, that bird.
Yeah.
Right around the corner from Nancy Whiskey. So we were painting that, all our volunteers in our Summer in the City t-shirts. And they said, you're going to be on TV. And we had to sign the vouchers and all that, the waivers. And they lead in Terry Crews blindfolded. He didn't know where he was going to be or what he was going to be doing. And he finished the last square of that mural.
How cool.
And we all got to cheer him on and everything.
Did you get his autograph?
I didn't.
Did he flex his pecs while he was...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's so funny.
He took off his shirt.
My dad can do that. My dad, I did not inherit that trait.
No?
My dad can,
I could do it.
Yeah, Terry.
You can do one peck and then the other?
Yeah, of course. My uncle was a bodybuilder. My uncle was a bodybuilder, so I had to, I wouldn't
get
be
to
able
represent.
Yeah.
I'll just say that Terry is a beautiful human being in every way.
He seemed like that, even on the show and in other things you see him in. Every time he speaks, he's so genuine.
Yeah,
And
he
I'm
had
so-
a blast.
I didn't know he was from Flint, though. So when I heard him say it, I was like, yay, Flint.
Yeah, I didn't know that
Michigan.
either till I
Yeah,
saw I
modest
saw it.
beginnings.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dig it.
So, Motown 60th. Of course, we've been talking about that all year because that's
60
the anniversary.
years.
60 years of Motown. I mean, how awesome. So, they just announced the other day kind of the capper weekend. So this is when the big events are going to take place, September 21st through the 23rd. So I thought I'd just mention them to you if you want to get in on the action. So there's a Motown gospel concerts that's going to happen on the first day, and that'll include a 125 person choir.
Wow.
They're like gathering people from over 70 faith-based organizations, churches, whatnot, to
That's
sing in
gonna be
this
tough.
giant choir. And so beginning August 28th, you can claim free tickets to that. And there's going to be 3,000. So first come, first serve. The second event is Hitsville Honors, celebrating Berry Gordy and 60 years of Motown. That's going to take place September 22nd at Orchestra Hall. Star-studded, like we're talking the Temptations, the Four Tops, Martha Reeves, Mary Wilson, on to more current artists. Big Sean will be there, Kem, Neo, kind of to illustrate the legacy that, hey, Motown label's still going, and we still got some great people. So tickets, those do cost money, $50 to $1,000. Those will go on sale August 1st. And then there's going to be a third event, Soul in One Celebrity Golf Classic, September 23rd. That's where you can go out to a club in West Bloomfield Township and play golf with Motown alumni.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, so $350 and up for that one.
Go for that.
All those things you can find out more on motownmuseum.org.
Now, you grew up here, I assume,
Yes.
a big Motown fan?
Of course.
Yeah.
I had to listen to it. Well, I didn't, not so much I had to. It just was my background growing up, the backdrop of my house, my life. Aretha, well, she didn't play for Motown, but, just those songs that came out of the 60s that my mom grew up listening to. Stevie Wonder, she was a huge Stevie Wonder fan. When he was little Stevie Wonder, paying the 50 cents to go to see him at the concerts and screaming her head off, thinking she was going to be the next Mrs. Wonder or whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but Motown is that was how I knew myself coming up. Just the music of the house. It was what was played on the radio or on the stereo when people came over. Yeah, Motown.
Now, I didn't grow up with it the same way that you would grow up with it, I think, if you grew up here. But my mom was a big fan. The thing that I've actually found, there are two things that have led me to listen to a lot more Motown lately. The first is that we have a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old that, the grandkids of my girlfriend running around the house.
Nice.
And we have Alexa. We have, an Amazon Echo.
Oh, yeah.
And so, when I say, Alexa, play 90s alternative, which is, what I grew up on, bad things happen, right? 9 Inch Nails is not what you play for the 2-year-old.
No,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Right? So the easiest thing to do is to just go, Alexa, play Motown.
Oh, of course.
It's going to be upbeat. It's going to be fun. It's family friendly.
And the kids are singing and dancing.
Yep.
No, what I
Super
love
fun.
about growing up here is that many of the people who sang on Motown were people who lived here.
Yes.
So you would see, and there are so many stories, not that I have stories like this, but men and women who are my family. You know, I just saw the Temptations, or
Right.
you know, the
I went to high school with that
exactly.
guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, or the fact that I went to Cass Tech and Diana Ross was a student for a while at Cass Tech. So just so many ways that you are in the community. Like I said, the city of Detroit has so much in terms of art and community and creativity to offer. There's so many ways that you can get in, and here again, another opportunity.
They were our local legends,
Yeah.
for sure.
Absolutely.
Like, that's what you grew up with.
So here's the other thing that I love, and I love telling people about this that don't know about this. There's a cartoon called Motown Magic that is on Netflix.
Oh, look, she's
What?
like,
Yes.
say what?
Right.
And it's really good.
Really?
And I don't watch
it
a lot of
based on the
cartoons
music?
these days. Yes.
Yeah.
They got the music. They re-recorded a lot of the music.
With people like Neo and Ken.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So Motown,
got
Motown Magic. We actually
Taking
interviewed the
notes
creator. He's
now.
from Australia.
Australian, and it's in our mobile app.
Yeah.
Go download our mobile
Yeah,
app.
you can hear the whole conversation. But
Nice.
yeah, it's amazing. Smokey Robinson is one of the executive producers.
Of course
they
he is.
really pulled out all
That
the
man
stops.
is so smart. I'm so proud of that.
I
Yeah.
think Don Was is involved somehow. or
Yeah, the
something,
animation is
I'm
amazing.
a big animation fan. I love cartoons. So I'm down
it's,
for this.
It's clearly set in a place that is like Detroit because there's a lot of street art. But they call
Nice.
it Motown.
Okay.
This kid has a magic paintbrush, and he can like paint a wall, and it opens up this portal. And there's a robot that used to build cars, and now he's a dancing machine.
Like the Jackson 5
Which I hope that happens in real life. Don't you?
Yes, we do need a magic paintbrush to paint and see the dancing machine.
I know.
I thought I was the dancing machine.
Well, I'm sure you are, as am I, especially when I have some tequila. But yeah.
It's cool. Check it out.
Oh, totally.
So speaking of Flint, I wanted to just throw it out there. I know we normally just stick to Detroit area, but there's a new theater in Flint called the Capitol Theater. It was built in 1928. It's newly renovated. So it was closed, you guys, for 25 years, just shuttered, and it's just reopened. Apparently, it's wonderful. I have a friend that went to the opening show there, which was Big Head Todd and Toad the Wet Sprocket.
Wow.
So it holds 1,500 people, so similar to like our Royal Oak Music Theater, and in fact, built the same year of that same vintage theater. So OAR is playing there this Thursday, the 27th.
Nice.
Yeah, so I encourage you, if you want to take a little road trip, to go to a show there. They got free parking.
So this will
and
be
great
interesting
restaurants.
because, you know, and I've actually never looked at this. I know, you know, I was in Providence, Rhode Island. I ran a radio station there, and the big problem that we had is that these bands would go from New York to Boston, and they would skip Providence. And I have to imagine that if you're in Flint,
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of the same things. That
Yeah.
these bands are not playing Flint; they're going to Detroit,
for sure.
right? Because people will drive that hour if
Yes.
they really want to see
Yeah,
them.
this particular friend, like she comes to the Royal Oak Music Theater, the Fox, all the time, and she's so excited to see who they're
Her
going to book
venues,
there.
yeah.
So I wonder if this will cause bands to route
Compete.
through there that might not go through there otherwise.
I wonder. Yeah, I wonder. So keep an eye on their schedule.
Go for Flint, though.
Yeah. So concert picks for the weekend. Friday, June 28th, Third Eye Blind and Jimmy Eat World are together at Freedom Hill.
I had dinner with Jimmy Eat World once.
You did not.
I did.
Really?
It was before the big album came, before Bleed American came out.
Oh, before that. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean they had not
Yeah.
broken. I was at a radio station in Boston. Here's the thing: the one thing I remember about that dinner is that it was the first time I ever heard the word emo. Because I asked them, you know, what the new album was like, and they said, "Oh yeah, it's emo," and I was like,
Did you just act like you knew what they were saying?
totally.
As you should.
Like,
I had
interesting.
you know, but this is like pre-dashboard confessional and all that stuff. Like this is like real early on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, my morning jacket yet. Also on Friday is Autograph at the Magic Bag. And then on Saturday, June 29th, you have Dierks Bentley at DTE, and then Young the Giant and Fitz and the Tantrums together at Freedom Hill. Sunday, June 30th, an evening of jazz to benefit NBC Ministries with Ralph Armstrong and friends. It's at the Metropolitan Baptist Church. I bring this up because I feel like a lot of people don't know some of the amazingly talented musicians we have here, like Ralph Armstrong, who's been doing it for decades. I think he came out of his training was actually at Interlaken up north, a music camp, and from a very young age was playing with the greats. I mean, he's played with all the Motown people, Aretha Franklin, Santana, toured with many musicians, but then does so much work here in Detroit. And if you haven't seen him, he's a bassist beyond compare. It's just, he's great. And he also plays at Bert's quite often with the RBC Trio. So also Sunday, June 30th, the Motor City Brass Band is going to be playing a free concert on Belle Isle. This is pretty cool because there's a band shell on Belle Isle.
Oh, yes.
But it's in some disrepair.
Wait, where is it? I'm not even...
It's on, do you know where Sunset Point is?
No.
Well, you can
I
figure it
I
out
feel
if
like
you-
there are areas of Belle Isle that I have not yet explored.
take
I feel
some
like
time to
I
explore.
go to the fountain a little too
Okay,
too much.
other side.
Yeah.
But you go to Sunset Point. So there's this old band shell there, and kind of as a way to promote that they want to restore it and start, getting that up and going, they're having a few concerts this summer. So Motor City Brass Band, I think they're going to be doing a lot of like patriotic tunes, just in time for 4th of July.
Of course.
So Monday, July 1st, Grace Jones at Masonic Temple.
Wanted to be her.
I see your eyes lighting up.
I love this woman. I wanted to be her as a little girl. She was thebomb.com. I thought she was the most beautiful and amazing and
Statuesque
strange,
and cool and crazy.
Come on. I mean, well, my first connection to her, Slave to the Rhythm and Pull Up to the Bumper, right?
Oh, yeah.
and then this whole acting thing and all the weirdness that is and the androgyny of the 80s, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But
Very 80s,
people think that I've been nicknamed Grace Jones.
I can
by
see it
girlfriends of
completely,
mine.
yeah.
Well, the bald head and
your cheekbones.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
But I wanted that strength and that power that she had. I saw Vamp. I mean, like I was a fan.
Yeah.
Like, I think I was the only person who saw that movie because neither one of you.
I haven't seen. I know.
She sees the blank faces.
I know what you're talking about,
Right.
but I have not seen it. Or if I did, I forget.
Yeah, Grace Jones was amazing. She is still. I mean,
Yeah, she's 70 years old.
she is amazing.
That is, I love that.
All
Seeing
of them
women
amazing.
that age doing stuff
Come
like
on.
this.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, and Wednesday, July 3rd, Yes is playing at Meadowbrook. Not quite as exciting.
Well, weren't they the group that did "Owner of a Lonely Heart"?
Yes.
Oh man, I remember that song. I like them.
Deep, brief.
Want more? Text the word Detroit to the number 444-999.
All right, we got to talk about something that happened recently. This is one of those stories that you actually hear a lot about, and I feel like you hear it more in recent years, but you don't often hear about it in reference to artists. There's an artist, Sheafy McFly, who does a lot of murals. You're familiar with some of his work.
He's a hip hop artist too. He's a musician as well. Yeah.
Well, he was arrested while he was painting a mural for the city of Detroit. Was actually commissioned to do so.
In the act of painting this mural.
Yes.
For the city, he was arrested.
Yes.
By the city's police.
Yeah, so here's what happened. There is a program called City Walls where artists are paid to create public art.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole idea is that this will hopefully deter vandalism because if you put something good looking on the walls, maybe people
will like
will,
it.
Yeah.
Which has actually been really true in Eastern Market and other places.
Yeah.
There's almost like a code of conduct where if there's something nice, people don't tag it.
Yeah. So Sheafy was working on a mural near 7 Mile and John R. First day that he's there, police questioned him, but he showed him the permit, said, I'm supposed to be here. Well, on Wednesday, he was there again, but he forgot to bring the permit. And there were 2 new officers, not the same ones that had come by before, and they tried to arrest him because they thought that this was graffiti that was going on. And he's like, okay, you can call, and eventually they called the City Walls program and they figured out that he had a permit, but it didn't matter because at that point, the cops had discovered that he actually had a warrant for his arrest from a traffic violation from years ago. And so he was detained in jail for 24 hours. Sheafy thinks he was profiled and that the cops should have been able to figure out that it was art, not graffiti, because he'd been painting it for days.
I've seen this.
I mean, you've got to have some plan. You can't just do a mural in a minute. So
No.
No. It was all laid out in black and white. Like he had outlined all the forms. There's
so clearly it was art being put up, not someone tagging.
Yeah.
Well, and it was a cartoon coney dog, right? They're saying,
So that's his graffiti.
Right. And the cartoon and the
Right.
coney dog saying, "What up, doe, my baby." So
I mean, I suppose they could have misinterpreted that he was painting over what was done, but once he explained, it seemed like it shouldn't have gone this far.
I mean, that's always my question with that. Is I can understand the initial misunderstanding.
Maybe.
Right.
What I don't understand is why it can't be disentangled.
Like,
Right.
couldn't they have just had a quick conversation?
Right, and figured it out. And I don't know.
The police relationships, I think, my own opinion, we feel like, that there are people who are in authority or whatever. But when you are in control and someone doesn't do what you want them to do or isn't as compliant or whatever, the authority kind of gets to you, I think. And I work at the Charles Wright Museum, so knowing a little bit of our history of the city of Detroit, and I guess I keep saying the Charles Wright Museum because I love that man, but at any rate, the founding of the policers of the city of Detroit come from patty rollers, the patrollers, whose job it was to find the runaway enslaved men and women. So it seems to me that this is a part of the DNA of a lot of policing systems, that it is to control property, and Black people for a long time were considered property. And we can't control the property as the individual human being anymore because they are now people, but I'll protect the property against what used to be property. And so I'm going to just over police and really be, I think, a little overbearing. Because this certainly could have been worked out. I mean, he clearly is somebody who has done something well enough that he got some kind of a popularity where people knew, hey, City Walls wanted this guy to be there.
Oh, he has several murals in the city.
So this is not, so I mean, I can't imagine that other people in this community won't know who Sheefy McFly is.
He's been on, magazines, newspapers.
And you would also think, and look, I realize that city governments are big and, interdepartmental communication is probably not what it should be.
Right.
But you would think somebody would send out a memo that would be read at the morning meeting.
They did.
They're not tagging. This
is art going up on the wall.
Right.
Yeah, I read a little bit about this, that there was communication to all the police departments about City Walls is happening. There's going to be artists. But, over 100 artists are participating. So it's not like everybody got pictures of the artists. Or not that they should. But I'm just saying it did get out there.
But the locations you would know. You would know this is happening.
They should, absolutely.
And in particular,
if you see someone
especially
in
your precinct that you're patrolling, you should be,
hey,
familiar. This is what's going on in my neighborhood.
Right.
Well, and this is, we can reasonably foresee that this is an act that, might look like a crime that's being committed. And so we should
the understanding that artists paint sometimes in the middle of the night, sometimes during the day. It can be anything happening, and this was not in the middle of the night, but I'm just saying, that, there should be some more familiarity with that. And when they talked to Zach Mears, who's also an artist himself and runs the City Walls program, and said, why did it have to? And even if he had a warrant for a traffic violation, they're not required to arrest him.
No, but that's that authority, hey, I stopped you for something and you're going to go down. I mean, I'm not a hater of the police. They have their job. And I am very thankful for them in the cases when I have called them, and I have in my life. But you just don't want to hear about people being mistreated or maltreated. I guess I'm just thinking about what happened in Phoenix a few days, or last week or whatever it was.
Last week, yeah.
And just knowing that policing now seems like a whole new thing, or not new, but just it is getting so much bad press, and we cannot have a continuation of this kind of bad press in these tense moments. People's lives are at stake. Yeah. People have died, men and women and children.
Well, this happened in South Bend, Indiana. Now it's blowing up in Pete Buttigieg, who's running for president.
Right, exactly. I saw that on Facebook.
Point.
It's crazy. But we've got to remember this police officer is a human, and these people who he or she is accosting or whatever the circumstances is also human. And I guess, you got to find a moment to remember that.
Yeah.
Even in the midst of the fear or the whatever, tense whatever. It's just sad.
Yeah, and my thing is, too, what other bad stuff was going on that they weren't catching while they're worried about this guy painting?
Exactly. Who weren't they arresting? What crack? I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Bring it down, yo.
I know.
Discussions about cartoon coney dogs can get very intense.
Well, coney and cartoons. And listen.
Those things we like.
This is the D.
Brief.
Let's talk about some of the things that are happening around town. I like to bike. This is one of the things that I look forward to in the summer. I am not happy about this summer because
rain.
I finally this weekend pulled my bike up out of the basement and put it in the shed, but I still need a day to clean
Ride
up the
it.
bike and
Put air in the tires.
Yeah, put up
Yeah.
and we're decking our bikes out this year. We're doing the
Are
whole
you?
yes,
The flags
Yes,
and the-
this was one of the gifts I got for my girlfriend last year for her birthday was
The kit?
the whole the lights.
tricking
and
it out.
Yes,
Sweet. Well, we live close to each other. We're gonna have to come meet you for a bike ride.
we would go on these rides,
Cool.
and everybody's got these little boom boxes,
That's a
right.
thing.
you know.
Mhm. You want something sexy on your bike.
Yeah.
And then one of our favorite places to go is the zoo, but of course you normally can't ride your bike in the zoo.
No.
Well, there's an opportunity to do so. There's a bike safari that's happening on Thursday, June 27th. You can go on a 2-mile course. Plus, there's going to be a BMX stunt show there.
sounds fun.
So-
I have done this. There was a beer bike safari. I think it was last summer that my husband and I went, and it ended with a concert and more beer. But it was very cool to ride bikes through the zoo because normally you don't have such a clear path.
I'm a simple man. I just want elephants and
The zoo's
beer
the best.
and bikes.
It was
Yes.
great.
What's wrong with that? That's a great combination.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
I'm down for that.
So there is a sad note coming out of the zoo. There's an 11-year-old gray wolf named Watsy that died during surgery. They were going in to remove a mass from her chest, and unfortunately, she suffered a cardiac arrest. And I think she was a favorite of a lot of the zookeepers there.
I love wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a good exhibit there with the
Yeah,
wolves.
it is
nice.
beautiful. Yeah.
And some trouble as well. In September, they're closing down the penguin exhibit. You guys have seen the penguin exhibit?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing.
They're
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, apparently it's got some faulty waterproofing. It's got some leakage issues, and so they're going to close it down. And
The
they
contractor is
gonna
at
do?
fault. They didn't disclose certain things, and so the zoo successfully, sued them. And
So where's Happy Feet going to be?
I don't know where the little guys are going to go while this is happening.
I'm pretty sure that's the
crazy.
same contractor that did my basement.
Well, they
You know
can't go
what?
with the
Sue them.
Yeah.
Then they
Maybe
got to
I-
fix it on
But
their
you got to
dime.
have the same lawyers as the zoo did.
I'll have to find out.
It's like a good call. Yeah.
When's the last time you went to the zoo?
Years ago, when they were filming The Giant Mechanical Man, I was on a set, believe it or not. And the zoo was the set. My son and daughter and myself were there. It was freezing cold. It was like 3 degrees outside. It was
boy.
something crazy. And it was a beautiful, wonderful, crisp, gorgeous day, but frigid. And our movie husband or dad, he didn't have a hat on, and you could just see the heat waves and the smoke.
Escaping from his head.
And he was so cold, but it was. I haven't even seen the movie. I don't even know if it came out. Did it
Wait,
come out?
It did come out. Yeah.
so you don't know if you're in it?
Well, I don't. I didn't see it, so I don't know.
You are
Okay.
missing a lot of your IMDb credits here.
Listen,
I know. We've already been working on
Right.
your resume. so
I
let's-
appreciate this.
Yeah.
You know, this is why I needed to come here.
Right,
To,
yes.
For you guys to help me to get my act together.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, see, we got new gigs. We're going to be, publicists for people, promoters for people.
Listen,
we can do their resumes.
you're doing it.
Yeah.
I just don't have money.
Yeah, you might. This might. The union. I don't know. We'll have to figure this out.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I think
you
there's
know,
a clause
You'll
about.
get comps to my next show. I promise.
Let's
it.
talk about an exhibit that is at the DIA. It is another baseball exhibit. This is actually the second round of an exhibit that was there last year. It's called Play Ball: Transforming the Game, 1876 to 2019. It is now on display. This celebrates the championships of the 1887 Detroit Wolverines, just in case you missed that one,
Yeah, because I did.
That I missed.
I missed that one.
and the 1984 Detroit Tigers.
Was there for that.
Me
Yes.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was crazy.
One of the things that I think is cool, it actually traces the evolution of baseball cards. So from the time when they were in vending machines and then candy cards of the 1920s, all through the mid-century and the present day. Now, not that I'm a baseball card collector, but I have collected cards at different points. I'm
Pokemon?
Garbage Pail Kids.
Old school.
Those were gross.
Those are old
Stinky.
school. Yeah, well, and you know what? I accidentally spilled like a jug of milk on mine when I was a
It
kid.
made it worse.
And then I didn't wipe them off, so they stuck together.
Oh, no.
And so that they ripped apart when you tried.
These were second series. Like, these would be worth money if they were still in good condition. But,
Well, that's impressive because how did you purchase those? Where were they at the store or something?
7-Eleven. I still remember that because I was like a kid and I would like draw a map to 7-Eleven because I'd want to go and buy more.
Look at you. So out of the candy card or the candy bubblegum machine or whatever it was, and now the 7-Eleven, this thing
The little
you
pack.
wasted milk on.
Yes.
You could have been paid like these people who have the real baseball cards who are worth what, thousands I guess now.
Untouched,
guess.
pristine.
But yeah, but you played with yours, so So
didn't.
then that would have made them moot
absolutely.
anyway.
I was a kid.
I know. That's the thing. So many things you have as a kid. I didn't keep it in the box.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, the display will be there until mid-September, so go check it out. Also, Riverside Park has a new 15,000 square foot skateboarding park.
So cool.
That is sponsored by Tony Hawk. That's just opened up. Your son's into skateboarding.
Yeah, he went right away, and in fact, I think he was going to go again today. But yeah, beautiful park, and a couple other parks in the city are more like DIY and rough around the edges. And
What does that mean? DIY skateboarding?
Oh, like
park?
literally, people just make it out of like
Whatever they
cement,
find.
cylinders, and old tables and stuff like this. But this is a proper poured concrete. All the elements designed well, and it's pretty fantastic.
That sounds pretty
and
cool.
on the water. So.
I want to go visit that. I don't skateboard.
Well, you can start. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
No,
It's
I
not
don't.
too late.
Yeah, I think it is.
Well, my son has definitely broken a few things, including his collarbones.
Not
so,
trying.
Yeah.
See, this is the reason I'm not. Yeah. Do they have the is it just skateboarding or is it for like?
I believe you can use
bladers or-
BMX bikes or rollerblade
Cool.
or.
Well, let's say I've been on rollerblades before.
Yeah. What my son liked about it, he said it was like grown people that knew how to skate. Like, because he gets annoyed when there's real little kids like
and they're
trying to learn and stuff. So
I
he
know
gets a little
ollie.
snobby about that.
I just know that there's a thing called an ollie.
yeah, kick flips.
See?
Yeah.
Anyway, the grand opening was over the weekend. Legendary X Games competitor Andy McDonald was there. They've been working for 5 years to restore Riverside Park.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's Community Push, which is a nonprofit that brought local skateboarders together to go through and choose the features and the obstacles. And there are more skateboarding parks on the way. They just broke ground in Ypsilanti and also Chandler Park in Detroit just held a fundraiser. So I guess this is becoming a thing. I guess it's pretty mainstream
just
now.
because it was a lot of like street culture, and so we'll see how it changes. Because part of the thing about being a skateboarder is making your own stuff and your own spaces.
I bet you the building owners downtown are like, "Yay, go over there."
Yeah, right. Because like my son and his friend,
Ruining
they'd
the
skate
marble.
the steps on Hart Plaza and all the
Exactly.
stuff that you're not supposed to get. But that's part of this culture. So if you give people a place to go, it is a good idea.
Build it. What is the movie? Build it, and
And they will come. Yeah, Field of Dreams. Yeah.
A couple other things going on around town. First of all, Detroit City Football Club, FC.
DCFC.
Yes, this is semi-pro soccer. You're in?
I'm all
yeah.
in. My husband was a team, a part of the team when they were in the neighborhoods, and
he played?
Yeah, no, he's big in soccer all the time.
Okay.
In my house, but yeah, no, I love DCFC. They're awesome. They are awesome.
You haven't been to a game, is it?
I haven't been to a game.
Oh my God,
man.
it's cheap, and you go and you sing raunchy songs.
hooligans,
and
are
throw
you kidding?
smoke bombs,
Yes.
and flags, and
I've never thrown a smoke bomb.
La
I need
Rouge.
to do that.
They're
Go
La Rouge.
La Vive La Rouge.
So they're on quite a string. They now have a string of 8 games where they've been undefeated.
LA.
And not only that, there have been no goals scored against them during this streak.
That's unbelievable.
There.
Yes.
Yes.
Because there's really good players that are out there.
And we just have to nurture this. This is something I've been hoping for not only Detroit, but the United States. I mean, I'm a big soccer fan
Yeah, me
through
too.
my husband, but I mean, I'm like, World Cup, just bananas over it. 'Cause
yeah,
this is,
the Women's World Cup's right now. It's
oh my gosh,
incredible.
the 13 goals that they scored. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
More than all of the 3 previous. I'm sorry. the
Yeah,
men.
no, those women are incredible
I
athletes.
mean, I'm so proud of them. I'm
Yeah.
I know
so
what
proud
you
of them.
talk about around your kitchen table
Yeah,
at night.
well,
We talk
do.
about soccer
Yeah.
and Star Wars. So
Really?
Gosh, do we live in the same house?
Then you guys can come over for dinner anytime.
anytime, man. Are you, what? Let's do it.
Well, maybe I'll go check it out. I need
You
to go
should.
check out a game.
You should.
They are hosting Toledo at Keyworth Stadium in Hamtramck on Sunday.
Totally fun. Go get some pizza. Enjoy yourself. It'll be
Great
a blast.
neighborhood, too, where that
Yes,
is.
I love Hamtramck. I love the neighborhood over there. It's great.
2 other things I want to mention. Comedian Sal D'Amelio, who is he's a local stand-up comedian, been doing it for a long time. He's over at Big Tommy's in Novi. I don't know if a lot of people know this, that Big Tommy's, it's this big Greek restaurant there in Novi, but they have a room downstairs where they do comedy on the weekends. And you can see sometimes it's talent from out of town, sometimes it's some of the bigger names and local talent. Sal D'Amelio's been doing it a long time. He's very
Cool.
good. Also on Saturday, you've got D's in the D, who have been guests on this podcast.
the
in the
Bryans.
past.
I
Yeah.
love them.
So these are the guys that are putting hives on different buildings all over town, restaurants and
Yes.
Kobo and
Hotels.
yeah, you name it. They're having their fundraiser. It's called BBQ.
Of course.
The BBQ.
And it's yes, it's going to be at the Outdoor Adventure Center on Saturday.
This is the D.
Detroit.
This is the D.
Brave.
There it is. Your first show with us.
I'm so excited. This was great.
Oh, thank
Super
you for
fun,
coming
isn't
on.
it?
Yeah.
This was amazing.
A couple things we want to let you know about. We have a mobile app. You should go download it because there's extra bonus content, interviews and things like that. Sometimes we have bits from local comedians, stuff that you can only get in the app.
And it's just real easy to listen to the show on there. It's good stuff. Also, you can listen on your Amazon Echo. Just say, Alexa, enable the Debrief podcast.
And we are helping other Detroit arts and entertainment organizations produce their own podcasts. We've actually launched Michigan Podcast Productions because so many people have come on the show and said that they want to do a podcast. So we said, all right, we'll help. Go to MichiganPodcastProductions.com for more details. On Friday, who we got coming in? Who are we talking to?
We are talking to Tim McKay. He is the executive director of Corktown Experience and basically just a longtime historian of the neighborhood of Corktown.
Cool. Look, one of the things we want to do before we get out of here, we always want to give a shout out to somebody local for something great that they've done. Becky, let's start with you. What do you got?
I want to let you know about, it's a national organization that has just come to Detroit. So it's Food Rescue US, so Detroit Food Rescue. And you can look it up on Instagram, Food Rescue US _Detroit, or you can go to their website, foodrescue.us, and download an app. So it's basically like an Uber service to get food that's donated from local people that have excess. We're talking restaurants, after they've served, or grocery stores that have things close to expiration date, those types of things, to connect to people that need it.
That's
Organizations
really
that feed people on the street and senior centers, all those kinds of
Yeah,
things.
absolutely.
So you can sign up to be a volunteer, to be that Uber driver, to say,
Do
like,
that.
these people need their food picked up on a Tuesday to get to these people. And you can also sign up to be a food donator and a food receiver. So this was brought to town by Dara Collins, who is the partner of Bob Lambert, who is the general manager at Foundation Hotel. So they've been instrumental in kind of starting it up. So they've been donating a lot of food, but it's just growing and growing. And I just want to put the word out there to look up Detroit Food Rescue.
Yeah.
Cool. What about you, Yolanda? Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Oh, the graduates of 2019, just knowing that these young people who are graduating high school, from members of my family, those who are graduating from college, members of my family and friends in the community, just seeing these beautiful babies walking out with their caps and gowns and how proud they are. I want to shout them out.
You must have a lot of people that you know because you've worked with a lot of youths over the years.
It's true. And you get a chance to get in the families of these men and women and who were babies when you met them. And now they are literally walking out into life now. So shout out those young people. Go do, go fly, go be amazing.
Yes.
Well, look, this was the first sunny weekend of 2019, I think.
Shout out the sun.
Yes.
I heard. Yeah, I was in New Orleans, but I was watching the weather here. I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, so I went and hung out at the Front Porch Festival that was happening in Ferndale.
Yes,
We had Michael
thanks for
Bengiat
representing.
who put that together. We had him on the podcast recently. And so he set us up with our own stage. So shout out to Ben Barr, who owned the porch. This is
Nice.
the third year that he's actually allowed his porch to be used
Thank
for
you,
this.
Mr.
sounds
Barr.
fun.
Saw
Yeah.
the Luddites play and Race Car, and also met Julian Jordan, who does middays over at 94.7 WCSX. We did an intro together and introduced one of the bands together. So
I heard it was a
it's
big
great.
success. And
Yeah.
it was like 75 and sunny.
Dude, it was a cool event. I had actually not been before, and it was pretty cool the way you could just stroll from porch to porch to porch. And
That sounds fun.
People were having a good time, and it was a lot of fun. So shout out to those guys for doing a really nice job with all that. And shout out to you. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. This was
Yes.
fantastic. We'll have you back again tomorrow.
Please.
Do a little bit
Good.
more.
I'm with it. Let's
All
do
right.
it.
Cool. Until then,
All right.
Detroit's moving.
Keep up.
The D. Brave.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.
Hi, Craig Foley here. If you're listening to the Debrief podcast, well, I've got two things to say to you. One, you have impeccable taste. Two, you care about the community that is Metro Detroit. That's why I think you'd appreciate my daily show, The Craig Foley Show on Deadline Detroit. Every weekday, I tackle the big issues in politics, business, arts and culture, sports. Whatever's on the mind of Detroiters and Michiganders, we will talk about it. It's all open for discussion. And keep this in mind. News doesn't have to be boring. Sure, we talk about serious stories and we have interviews and commentary, but we do it in a way that, if I'm doing my job right, is informative but also entertaining. Check out The Craig Foley Show on Deadline Detroit for news, knowledge, hopefully some fun tossed in.
Hi, I'm Ann DeLisi from 1019 WDET. Well, for years I've been talking with people who are artists to find out what drives their creative spirit. And those extended sit-downs have now culminated in a new podcast series titled Essential Conversations. In the inaugural episodes, I talk with MC5 guitarist Wayne Kramer about the early days of the MC5, jazz artists Esperanza Spalding and Terry Lynn Carrington as they critique each other's teaching style. I turn the tables on writer and humorist Mo Rocca, and official White House photographer for the Obama administration, Pete Souza, talks about the night Osama bin Laden was captured. You can find Essential Conversations wherever you download your podcasts.